The U.S. preparing to help Iraq and prepare a major military offensive to retake the northern city of Mosul from ISIS. The Pentagon revealing details about the upcoming ground battle, although some military analysts have said that they should have kept them a secret.
It is mystifying that a U.S. military command would release the who, what, when of a pending operation. I mean, that's somewhat unprecedented. You know, we do that just prior to an operation, and then we embargo the media until the operation begins, until it's finished. But maybe we can pull back that veil of mystery a little bit here, Bill, because it's a known fact that the White House National Security Staff has a clamp on the U.S. military talking to the media.
Leif Babin is a former Navy SEAL officer and co-founder of Echelon Front. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Heather. Good to be with you this morning.
You have firsthand experience in this specific area. You know, you had, what, 3 different times that you were deployed to Iraq. You were specifically involved in the battle for Ramadi, took a key part in that attack. What are our troops facing? And these Iraqi and Kurdish forces, 25,000, they say that they will be prepared in this amount of time frame that they've given, April or May. Is that possible?
I'm pretty skeptical of this plan, absolutely. And certainly I share the same sentiment that many folks have shared about why, you know, these things are being aired. But I think when you look at all the hard fighting that was done in Iraq, whether in Fallujah, whether in Ramadi, where you know, I was with a group of SEALs that played a role in that battle with the 1st Armored Division to take those areas back against really what is the same enemy with just a little bit more capability these days. But all the hard fighting was done by U.S. forces, and so Iraqi troops were brought in to help secure the area afterward, certainly. But it wasn't until the level of violence was lowered substantially and the enemy's capability was radically reduced that Iraqi forces were successful in any measure.
So does it disappoint you, having been there and fought and your friends lost their lives, to see that we're talking about the possibility of U.S. ground forces maybe having to go back in? It's not disappointing to me. It is because I understand the nature of this enemy. This is what I believe to be as evil an enemy as the U.S. military has ever faced. And that is whether they are under the name of Al Qaeda, whether they're under the name of ISIS, they're all the radical militant Sunni jihad movement that we're facing and that we fought in Iraq. And it was disappointing that those gains were lost, certainly, because there was a lot of blood shed for those places like Anbar province. However, I do think that this enemy is not 20 feet tall. We have already defeated what was then Al Qaeda in Iraq, and then changed their name to the Islamic State of Iraq, and of course then morphed into ISIS after their success in Syria and are back in Iraq. So we know the formula to defeat them. We've already done it before, and it's going to take some U.S. boots on the ground. That's what I was going to ask you. Does that formula include U.S. troops on the ground, and can the other forces do it on their own?
Look, the Peshmerga fighters are good. They're definitely good. I think they're substantially better than the Iraqi forces. But I think you've already seen what Iraqi forces can do. And now, of course, with U.S. air power and with U.S. advisors, that changes things. But it really remains to be seen how many boots on the ground we're actually going to put. And I think you're talking about we don't need to reinvade Iraq. We don't need to reoccupy Iraq. But we do need to put a few thousand troops on the ground in order to do the hard fighting, in order to defeat ISIS and lower their level of capability to a point where Iraqi security forces can take over.
Finally, did it surprise you that CENTCOM went into the amount of detail that they did yesterday? And why do you think they did that?
It's clearly a political move. You know, for the White House wants us to silence critics, and I think there's no reason militarily to do that. I think for troops that are involved, right, they're frustrated when things like that happen.
Okay, Leif Babin, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your insight.
Thank you,
Bill.